Born at the crossroads of two eras, two tanks that became mainstays of their armies and were cutting edge for their time, the Soviet T-80 and the American M1 Abrams never faced each other directly on the battlefield, yet military analysts and gear enthusiasts keep debating which school of tank design was superior. Both machines have long service records. They saw action in several conflicts from the late 20th to the early 21st century and showed solid results. Just like last time when we compared the Su-25 and the A-10, we have a separate video on that. You can also check that out. Today, we'll try to settle this long-running debate as fairly and objectively as possible. There are 9 rounds in this video. Round by round, criterion by criterion, we'll compare their speed, armament, protection, and much more. Judging follows boxing rules. The winner of a round gets 10 points, the loser 9 or 8, and a tie is 9-9. So, who's better technically? Who actually outperforms their opponent in hardware and combat effectiveness? Who deserves the title of the best main battle tank of its era? Time to find out. Round 1. Dimensions and weight. Let's start with what immediately catches the eye: size and weight. On the battlefield, these aren't just numbers. They determine where and how your tank can appear in the enemy's line of sight. Now to the specifics. The base model of the T-80 has an overall length with gun of about 9.7 meters, a hull length of around 6.8 meters, a width of roughly 3.4 meters, and a height of 2.30 meters. Its total combat weight is about 42 tons. And what about its American counterpart? The classic M1 Abrams measures approximately 9.8 meters in total length, with a 7.9 meter hull, a width of 3.66 meters, a height of 2.37 meters, and a combat weight of about 54.4 tons. So what can we conclude from this round? The smaller your tank, the harder it is to spot and hit. The T-80 is noticeably more compact and lighter, easier to conceal behind terrain and structures, and its lower weight allows it to cross weaker bridges, move more easily between positions, and be serviced faster in the field. The Abrams, on the other hand, pays for its superior protection with higher weight and more complicated logistics. In scenarios with dense urban environments, narrow roads, or damaged infrastructure, the advantage clearly goes to the smaller and lighter vehicle. Score: 10-9 to the T-80. Round 2. Speed and mobility. In the previous round, we found out that the Abrams weighs a whole 12 tons more than the T-80. But maybe the American tank has such a powerful engine that it compensates for all that extra weight. Indeed, the M1 Abrams is a true heavyweight, powered by a massive AGT 1500 gas turbine engine producing 1,500 horsepower. With a combat weight of 54 tons, this gives it a power-to-weight ratio of about 28 HP per ton. Its top speed is around 72 kilometers per hour on roads and 48 to 55 kilometers per hour off-road. It's heavy and massive, yet still fairly quick for its size. However, the turbine consumes a huge amount of fuel and is sensitive to dust, which sometimes limits its range and autonomy in the field. The classic T-80 is also equipped with a gas turbine, the GTD-1000T, generating about 1,000 horsepower, 500 less than its American rival. But with a combat weight of 42 tons, it achieves a power-to-weight ratio of roughly 23 HP per ton. Its top speed reaches 70 kilometers per hour on roads and up to 50 kilometers per hour off-road, accelerating to 40 kilometers per hour in just a few seconds. It's light, compact, and, thanks to its turbine, capable of reacting quickly and changing positions, a critical advantage in modern, fast-paced battles with constant movement and shifting cover. Although the Abrams has a slightly higher top speed, in real combat conditions, this difference is not that significant. What truly matters is the tank's maneuverability and mobility. And here, the T-80 comes out ahead. Its lower weight and powerful engine allow it to accelerate quickly, reposition efficiently, and maintain high effectiveness on the battlefield. Score 10-9 to the T-80.
Round 3. Armament and Ammunition. The classic T-80 is equipped with a 125mm 2A46 smoothbore gun and carries around 38 rounds, part of them stored in a carousel autoloader beneath the turret floor, with the rest placed in the hull and turret compartments. It can fire APF-SDS rounds with armor penetration of about 500 to 550 millimeters of RHA and heat rounds capable of penetrating 700 to 750 millimeters of RHA against enemy armor, as well as HE frag shells against infantry. In addition, it features a coaxial 7.62mm PKT Kalashnikov machine gun with 1,250 rounds and a 12.7mm NSVT Utios heavy machine gun mounted above the commander's cupola for engaging light vehicles or low-flying helicopters with an ammunition supply of 300 rounds. The first model of the Abrams, on the other hand, was fitted with a 105mm M68 gun carrying as many as 55 rounds. Like the T-80, it can fire APF-SDS rounds with penetration of 410 to 420 millimeters RHA, heat shells around 600 RHA, but it also has access to smoke and specialized anti-personnel rounds. The Abrams is armed with 3 machine guns, 2 7.62mm M240s, one coaxial with the main gun and another mounted on the turret, plus a 50 cal MBHB heavy machine gun for the commander. The biggest difference between these two tanks lies in their reloading systems. The T-80 uses an autoloader, a carousel mechanism holding 28 rounds in the hull beneath the turret. The Abrams, however, relies on a traditional manual loading system, which increases the crew size to 4 due to the need for a loader. In practice, the autoloader provides a stable rate of fire, around 7 to 8 rounds per minute. The Abrams achieves a similar rate, roughly 7 rounds per minute, but it depends heavily on the loader's stamina, which means the rate can drop to 5 or even 4 rounds per minute over time. The autoloader, meanwhile, maintains consistency. And if the autoloader is damaged, the T-80 can switch to a semi-manual load, allowing the crew to reload manually when needed. So in terms of reload speed, the T-80 clearly has the edge. So what do we have in the end? The T-80 outperforms its American rival thanks to its larger caliber and higher fire rate, while the Abrams only holds the advantage in ammunition capacity. Thus, this round goes to the T-80 for its powerful combination of firepower and firing speed. Score 10-9 to the T-80. Round 4. Protection and Survivability. The classic armor of the earliest M1 Abrams models is a multi-layered Chobham-style composite. According to experts, its RHAE, rolled homogeneous armor equivalent, for the frontal turret projection is often cited in the range of 700 to 900 millimeters RHAE, and for the frontal hull, 600 to 800 millimeters RHAE, depending on the measurement point and angles considered. These numbers do not reflect the steel thickness, but the overall effectiveness of the multi-layered design, ceramic, steel, and intermediate layers, which significantly outperforms simple steel of equivalent weight. In addition, most of the Abrams ammunition, 44 rounds, is stored in a dedicated rear turret compartment, separated from the crew space by an armored door with the roof equipped with special blowout panels. In the event of ammunition detonation, the blast is directed outward, minimizing risk to the crew. The basic T-80 featured a more traditional armor setup for its time,
steel plus composite elements in the frontal sections, but without fully documented early Chobham-style packages. Estimates for T-80 frontal armor usually give 300 to 500 millimeters RHAE for the hull front and 350 to 600 millimeters RHAE for the turret front. In raw equivalent terms, the M1's composite provides noticeably stronger protection for frontal areas compared to the baseline T-80. Moreover, due to the autoloader, most of the T-80's ammunition is stored inside the fighting compartment itself, meaning that a hit to this area has a high chance of detonating the ammo, potentially causing catastrophic explosions or turret blow-off and the loss of the entire crew. The takeaway from this round is that the M1 Abrams A has a more advanced composite armor system with higher RHAE values than the T-80, along with a major advantage in ammunition layout, increasing crew survivability. It's worth noting that both tanks have smoke grenade launchers for retreat scenarios. Overall, in terms of protection, the Soviet tank falls significantly behind. Score: 10-8 to the M1 Abrams.
Round 5. Electronics and Situational Awareness. The classic M1 Abrams was originally designed with a strong focus on digital battle navigation for its time, a laser rangefinder, ballistic computer, and an advanced late 70s to early 80s fire control system provided a high probability of hitting the target on the first shot, even on the move. The tank was equipped with Chrysler's most advanced stabilization system of that era. Additionally, thermal imagers, sighting devices, and image intensifiers allowed operations at dusk and night far more effectively than most Soviet counterparts of the period. The commander's view and communication systems were optimized for rapid coordination with other vehicles and artillery support, enhancing overall crew situational awareness. The baseline T-80 had slightly outdated but still reliable stabilizers and sights inherited from the T-64. They allowed effective action during the day and in simple night conditions, but in terms of electronics assistance, the T-80 lagged behind the Western laser plus ballistic calculation plus strong stabilization setup, and commander's view and network integration, communications, data exchange were limited by late 70s Soviet technology. This does not mean the T-80 was blind. It could see and shoot, but it relied more on crew skill and tactical judgment than electronic help. Overall, the Abrams, thanks to its fire control system and rangefinder, could often take the initiative in battle. The first shot hitting its target usually determines the outcome of a duel. The T-80 compensates with mobility and rate of fire, but strictly within this round's focus on electronics, the advantage goes to the M1 Abrams. Score: 10-9 to the M1 Abrams.
Round 6. Range and Logistics. The baseline T-80 offers roughly 300–350 kilometers of road range, depending on mode and load, with internal fuel tanks holding 1,140 liters. Its GTD-1000T gas turbine engine is designed to run on various fuel types: kerosene, aviation fuel, diesel in emergencies, providing considerable fuel flexibility in the field. The classic M1 Abrams has a higher theoretical road range, around 500 kilometers, and a very large internal fuel capacity of about 1,900 liters. However, its AGT-1500 gas turbine engine is optimized for aviation/turbine fuel, JP/kerosene, and extremely fuel-hungry in field conditions. Real off-road and combat consumption makes fuel logistics a critical factor. Formally, both vehicles use gas turbines, but the practical difference is that Soviet tanks were often designed for fuel flexibility and easier support in limited logistics conditions, whereas the Abrams depends on high-quality JP fuel, which must be constantly supplied in remote theaters,
making it reliant on the fuel chain. In terms of weight and dimensions, the T-80 is easier to transport. It fits on a wider range of rail platforms and requires lighter transport vehicles. The Abrams often needs special platforms, reinforced bridges, and extra planning. Plus, moving a large group of Abrams requires significantly more logistics, platforms, tractors, fuel. In damaged infrastructure or mountainous or forested terrain, this becomes decisive. Verdict: on paper, the M1 looks slightly better due to larger tanks. But in real combat, fuel consumption off-road and the Abrams' JP fuel requirement make it logistically demanding. The T-80's lighter weight, compact size, and fuel flexibility give it a real advantage in autonomy and operational mobility in dirty theaters. Combined with easier transport and lower infrastructure demands, this gives the T-80 a practical edge in logistics. Score: 10-9 to the T-80.
Round 7. Crew comfort and maintenance. The T-80 and M1 Abrams were designed for different conditions and military doctrines, and this becomes very clear when we talk about crew comfort and ease of maintenance. Starting with maintenance, the M1 Abrams is an extremely complex machine, packed with electronics, hydraulics, and sophisticated filtration systems. Its upkeep requires trained personnel and specialized equipment. Replacing filters, cleaning air intakes, and handling the fuel system takes hours, and in dusty conditions, it's an almost daily routine. However, the Americans accounted for this logistically. By U.S. Army standards, one tank company is supported by an entire maintenance platoon. And in the 1980s, a single tank cost about $5 to $6 million. The T-80, on the other hand, is simpler in design despite having its own gas turbine. Field repairs can be carried out by the crew or a repair team without specialized stations. Most components are modular and designed for quick replacement. Spare parts and ammunition are cheaper and easier to supply. Now about comfort, the Abrams is clearly ahead here. The interior space is significantly larger, the crew doesn't have to squeeze in, and the NBC, nuclear, biological, chemical, filtration, and air conditioning system works effectively. It also features FB-CB2 communications, digital terminals, cushioned seats, and good noise insulation. The T-80 is much Spartan in comparison. Space in the turret and hull is noticeably smaller. Turbine noise and internal temperature during prolonged operation can reach up to 50 degrees Celsius, and the communications and navigation systems are outdated in the classic versions. Verdict: the Abrams wins in crew comfort and ergonomics, but the T-80 scores points for simplicity, cost, and maintainability. The American tank provides comfort and technology, while the Soviet tank offers practicality and survivability in real conditions. Score: 9-9, a draw. Round 8. Combat experience. The T-80 has seen action in a number of conflicts of varying scale. It was used in Chechnya, where initial combat tests revealed significant losses and vulnerabilities in urban fighting. Later, this tank family appeared in export operations and conflicts in Syria and Nagorno-Karabakh. More recently, in the war in Ukraine, the T-80 and its various modernizations variants have been actively engaged and suffered notable losses. These cases show that in close urban combat, under attacks from ATGMs and drones, outdated configurations without modern protection and upgrades reveal their weaknesses. Despite these vulnerabilities, the T-80 proved to be a capable combat vehicle. It effectively supported infantry and performed well against enemy armor thanks to its high mobility and powerful gun. The M1 Abrams made its mass combat debut during the 1991 Gulf War, where it demonstrated overwhelming tactical superiority over older Iraqi Soviet-made tanks. It's important to note that the Iraqi army did not operate T-80s at the time. They relied on older and cheaper T-72s and T-55s. High accuracy, long-range firepower, and survivability in open terrain made the Abrams dominant. In subsequent campaigns in Iraq, 2003, and later in Afghanistan, the Abrams proved effective, but also faced challenges in modernization and logistics.
Vulnerabilities were revealed in urban environments and against ATGMs and IEDs, especially in Abrams, operated by Iraqi formations. Some losses were linked to slow logistics, explosions, and environmental factors, rather than direct tank duels. Both platforms in their classic configurations are vulnerable to modern swarms of cheap kamikaze drones and contemporary ATGMs. The conflict in Ukraine has shown that even heavy tanks need additional protection against attack drones. The development of cage armor and electronic or active defense systems was a response by the combatants. For Western tanks, active protection systems like Trophy have proven highly effective in real operations and can reduce the threat from ATGMs. However, these are modern upgrades, not part of the pure classic M1. Conclusion: the T-80 performed well in a number of local wars and operations, but suffered significant losses in certain situations, especially in urban combat and without modern protection. Its combat experience revealed vulnerabilities in armor and logistics in dirty theaters. The M1 Abrams demonstrated top-tier combat effectiveness in classic tank battles, Desert Storm 1991, and successfully handled numerous tasks in later conflicts, while also showing vulnerabilities in asymmetric conditions and under strained logistics. Eventual upgrades, APS modernizations, increase its survivability, but that is effectively a different level of the vehicle. Overall, based on traditional armored combat experience, proven dominance in open battle, and the number of successful operations, the M1 Abrams holds the advantage. Score: 10-9 to M1 Abrams.
Round 9. Modernizations and Future Potential. Although both tanks were born in the final years of the Cold War, the T-80 and M1 Abrams are still in service, not as museum pieces, but as active combat vehicles. Their paths of evolution, however, have been completely different. The Americans focused on technological modernization. The M1A2 SEP V3, introduced in the late 2010s, received updated electronics, a digital architecture, improved third-generation depleted uranium armor, and the Trophy APS, capable of intercepting incoming ATGMs and grenades. Its second-generation FLIR sights, upgraded fire control system, and new communication and navigation systems make the Abrams a fully integrated element of a networked battlefield. The line had gone through many intermediate stages: the M1A1 with the new 120mm M256 gun, the M1A2 with digital fire control and the CITV commander sight, and the SEP V1 and V2 versions added improved thermal sights and uranium-enhanced armor. Each generation increased combat effectiveness without needing a full platform replacement, which defined the tank's potential for modernization. The upcoming SEP V4 promises even more advanced thermal optics, laser sensors, a new 120mm XM360 gun with reduced weight and higher penetration. The U.S. plans to keep Abrams in service at least until the 2040s, until it is replaced by the M1E3, a lighter, more fuel-efficient version with a new turret and modular armor. The Soviet T-80 followed a very different path. After the 1990s, production almost stopped, but interest returned with the onset of large-scale conflicts. The modern T-80 BVM, adopted in 2018, received modern relic reactive armor, the Sosna U thermal sight, a new communication system, and an upgraded GTD 1250 engine with 1,250 HP. It retained the signature maneuverability and became far more resilient to modern ATGMs. Other important variants also existed: the T-80U 1985 with composite armor and Contact 5 reactive armor, the T-80UD with a 6TD diesel engine instead of a gas turbine, as well as the T-80BA and T-80UM, which added new fire control systems and improved sights. These versions helped extend the platform's life and partially adapt it to 21st century realities. However, the basic T-80 design remains a limitation. The internal layout and autoloader do not allow for large-scale upgrades without a radical redesign of the hull. Today, the T-80 BVM is considered more of a second-line vehicle or a complement to the newer T-90 MEM. In contrast,
the Abrams has much greater potential for modernization and integration with future battle management systems. Its massive technological base, large-scale production, and allied support give it the chance to remain relevant for decades. Score 10-9 to M1 Abrams.
Conclusion. After 9 fierce rounds, the battle of these steel machines has come to an end, and by the narrowest of margins, the winner is the M1 Abrams, scoring 85 points against the T-80's 84. The American tank takes the lead thanks to superior electronics, thermal sights, armor, crew protection, and integration into digital battlefield systems. The Abrams is a product of an army that bets on information superiority and soldier survivability at any cost. However, the T-80 doesn't leave empty-handed. It goes out as a respected opponent. It wins in mobility, compactness, cost, and ease of maintenance. This is a machine built for mass combat operations, adaptability, and survival even in harsh conditions. In this duel, Abrams' victory is minimal, 85-84. But remove air and satellite support, put these tanks head-to-head on equal terms, and the T-80 has every chance to turn the score around. In the end, Abrams is the power of technology, while the T-80 is the power of engineering pragmatism. 2 philosophies, 2 eras, and one question that still has no definitive answer. Who would win in a real battle? If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like and subscribe and leave a comment below with your personal opinion, whether you agree with the outcome or not. And also be sure to check out our previous comparison of the 2 legendary attack aircraft, the Su-25 and A-10. You won't regret it.